Hey everybody, Kenny here. Last time we did our build test with our druid, so this time we're looking at our necromancer. First off, look at our skill build that we have going on. Our Jason Asano build, we have started off with Reap, the 1-point Reap, have the enhanced Reap for the increased attack speed if an enemy dies within a few seconds of using the skill, and Acolyte's Reap upgrade that makes it that the first enemy hit every 5 seconds will have a corpse automatically formed under them, which is very important for our build. We're 3 points into Sever. We have the upgrade that increases the damage dealt on the return path, and the normal Sever upgrade that makes it that we have a guaranteed vulnerable if we use that skill enough times. We also fully invested in Hued Flesh, which is massively important for this build. This gives us a lucky hit chance that makes it that whenever we deal damage, we can create a corpse at the target location. And the reason that this is so important to have is that with Corpse Explosion, the lucky hit chance is actually very high. Meaning that when you use Corpse Explosion, you can trigger Hued Flesh. You can end up like just creating an endless endless supply of corpses to just continually explode over and over and over again, which I've done many times, and it is as awesome as it sounds. Obviously, we fully invested in our corpse explosion, and we even have an upgrade on our gear to give it an additional level. We got the upgrade that increases the radius, and we also got Blighted Corpse Explosion, which makes Explosion a darkness over time, well, a shadow damage over time skill. However, it also has the negative property of obscuring the player's vision. So, basically, it was a coding error on the dev's part, where the the shadow area that is supposed to leave was supposed to be rendered below the layer that is rendered to the screen for the player character and enemies, but they messed that up, and so you end up having that obscure anything inside of it, which I'm sure that the reason that probably happened was that there were probably people on the dev team who thought, oh, isn't this still cool when we put this on the top layer? So it looks like it's like using the darkness skill, the darkness spell from Dungeons and Dragons, where you can't see inside of it if you're outside of the area. And that was probably why they did it. And then just they all had so much fun playing with it that way that they forgot to put it back on the layer it's supposed to be on when the game came out. Because this will get you killed. Guaranteed. It's gotten me killed lots of times. If you use this skill, it will get you killed until they eventually fix it. You're also using Blood Mist with the upgrade that makes it that any skill that overpowers reduces the cooldown of Blood Mist. And most importantly, Ghastly Blood Mist, which makes it that Blood Mist leaves behind corpses. And the reason that we're using this is because we have the aspect on our boots that causes Blood Mist to trigger Corpse Explosion. So while we're building up all these corpses on the ground, we have an additional way other than actively using Corpse Explosion to cause our corpses to start to erupt. We've also fully invested in Spiked Armor for the Thorns, Grim Harvest so that each time we consume a corpse, we generate essence, and fully invested in Fueled by Death so that we deal increased damage for a certain amount of time after consuming a corpse. Then in the curse area, we have fully invested in Death's Embrace, which makes it that enemies that are close to us deal less damage and take more damage. We also put 2 ranks into Iron Maiden and got the upgrade that makes it that instead of costing essence, it actually is a way to accrue essence. And down in the Corpse and Macabre skill area, we got full ranks in Necrotic Carapace, so each time a corpse is formed, we gain Fortify. And since we're essentially spamming corpses on the ground, this triggers very often. Then in our ultimate tier, we're not using any ultimates, but we did fully invest in standalone, which makes it that we have increased damage reduction based on the number of active minions we have. We are sacrificing both our skeletons and we're sacrificing all of our skeletons and are only using a golem. So having this is very beneficial to us. And we also have Memento Mori fully invested in, so that those sacrifices that we did increase their bonuses by 60%. And then down in our key passives, we have taken Shadow Blight. And Shadow Blight does a couple things. The first is that after infecting an enemy with Shadow Blight, we deal extra damage to those enemies. And every 10th time an enemy receives that damage, they take a flat amount of additional damage, which is very nice. For Book of the Dead, as I mentioned, we are sacrificing our skeletons. So for our skeletal warriors, we're using Reapers. And our sacrifice makes it that we deal additional shadow damage, and that's 15% multiplier. And then for skeletal mages, we are sacrificing bone mages. I was initially using shadow mages for the additional essence, but I realized that the 60% bonus, while having another 24 essence is nice, 60% of 40 is a much nicer number than 60% of 15. So whenever an overpower happens, it's a really big overpower. And then for our golem, we are using Blood Golem, and we're using the upgrade that causes the golem to take 15% of the damage that we would take. So just an additional damage buffer for us. Since all of my builds are melee builds, regardless of if it's a traditional melee character or a caster, that's just how I like to play. Gear-wise, I'm using a scythe around my main hand that increases our critical damage, our crowd control, or our damage against crowd-controlled enemies, and gives us a good amount of intelligence. Our shield is a 58 thorn shield with some life regen, some damage reduction against distant enemies, and an emerald on it for additional thorns. Our boots are the boots I mentioned that give us the explosive mist aspect, so that when we use our blood mist, we trigger our corpse explosions. And the boots themselves have a max evade charge on them, increased intelligence, movement speed, and fortified generation. On our pants, we have an additional rank of corpse explosion, thorns, some flat life, and we have the aspect that makes it that when we use our basic skill, we gain damage reduction, which is great. And I also put some emeralds on that for more thorns. For our gloves, we have crit gloves with some willpower and some lucky hit chance, all of which are very important. On our chest, we have the best damage reduction chest we could get. So, damage reduction while fortified, damage reduction different distant enemies, and just all-around damage reduction. On our helmet, we are using an Adventurous Helm of Shielding Storm. The aspect on it doesn't matter because we're not using Bone Storm. But what does matter on it is that we have put an emerald for some even more thorns, some willpower, and some life regeneration. We've got lots of life regeneration in this build. Our ring, even more life regeneration, some shadow damage, and damage to distant enemies. Which, the distant enemies thing actually doesn't really matter for us, because we're always up close to enemies, so we want close to, not distant. On our other ring, we have even more life regeneration, more lucky hit chance, and some maximum essence. And our amulet gives us damage reduction from close enemies, movement speed, shadow damage over time, darkness skill damage. So just all around amazing amulet for us. And it also has the aspect on it. It makes it that when attacking enemies with our basic skill, our next core skill deals increased damage. So all around great stuff. If you didn't tune in to my Druid test video, we're testing here in the Forbidden City. I chose this spot specifically because only this dungeon and this dungeon are dungeons that all three of my characters would have passed by during my playthroughs. Because my Druid, I only played through Act 1, my Necromancer only played through Act 2, and my Sorcerer only played through Act 3. But my Druid had to make their way up through here in order to do their druid quest. My necromancer played through this area, so they had to go up through that way as well. And since my sorcerer had to go up this way in order to get over here. Well, actually, you know, technically they didn't have to do that. I could have gone this way into the dry steppes, but I think this was the better way. Because that's the Act 3 town over there. And it probably would have been much more treacherous to try to go through here and head up to there from that way. Alright, so let's head to that dungeon and show our build in action. Just as with my druid, the first objective is to slay the enraged spirits. So I'm going to go take care of that and kind of chime in as necessary.
I'm not ready yet.
First spirit down.
I hear and listened to the screams as they were torn and devoured by the creatures. I didn't want to end up like the others, dancing with the blood splattering the floor. The city walls that kept us safe trapped us in with them. I pray the cathedral sends reinforcements soon. You will have mercy and may know with my calibers. I'm going to try to escape.
I lack the required essence. I need more time. I'm out of essence. I lack the required essence. I'm not ready yet.
Yep, that's all of the enraged spirits. Now we head forward, and for my druid, the next objective was to kill all the enemies ahead. See if they change that at all for my necromancer. Nope, they're all enemies.
I'm out of essence. I'm not ready yet. I need more time. I'm out of essence. I need more time. I'm low on essence. I need more time. I'm out of essence. I'm not ready yet.
Yep, all the enemies down. Time to go see the boss.
I'm not ready yet. I'm out of essence.
Perfect. 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 Went off without a hitch. Yeah, so Necromancer, obviously a very strong contender. I mean, this is a great build. I had a ton of fun playing it during my Act 2 playthrough. So, like, I mean, I think I still rank my Druid a bit higher, but only because there's potential for another playstyle with that one than there is for this one. Like, I'm not really interested in going Bone Spirit or anything with this character. So, I'd pretty much just be doing this one playstyle for the rest of the campaign. But, you know, like, I enjoy this build, so I wouldn't be, like, a huge issue for me to play this build for the rest of the campaign. But, you know, like, the variety that I have available to me with my Druid makes me rank it a bit higher. So that's my Necromancer out of the way. I'm going to go clean up my inventory, and then in the next one, we'll be seeing how my Sorcerer does against that same boss. If you've been enjoying listening to this Old Man talk about RPGs, and you enjoyed the Necromancer playtest, or build test, I suppose, then I appreciate you on YouTube stuff. Like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, Ve Victus, Vires and Numeris, and bye.